Hi friends, Ian here from Word Code Consulting. Today I want to talk about how we capture and use the stories of people with lived experience. Something that has gone on throughout the course of my career has been organizations that do direct service, both not-for-profits and government organizations, and certainly volunteer groups, who want to capture success stories. Now, let's be clear on the parameters of a success story, and why do I keep putting it in quotes, success stories? Well, it's success based upon a certain level of criteria that is imposed upon the individual, right? The funder or the service provider has decided what success is, and then has tried to figure out who within the entire population of people served best meets those criteria. That's seen as success. And then what usually happens is the person, couple, or family that was deemed to be successful is approached, and sometimes they ask the direct service worker to do this, not a developmental director or officer to do this, to say, would you tell your story? Which, without the right supports, can be really traumatizing. And where it often becomes exploitive is when the request is tell your story of your work with our organization and how we helped you. So not how you helped yourself, or not where you got other supports, or not where you found your resilience, or not what was the difference that happened in your life, and certainly not, please leave out the details you don't want to. It's relive the tragedies, the traumas, and then the triumphs and everything we did to help you be successful. What sort of people do we pick for success stories? Not the norm. We don't pick the person who's still struggling to stay housed, or is really still struggling with their substance use, or really still struggling with their stress or their interpersonal dynamics. We don't pick that person. We pick the person who's housed and has a job, and they also have a car, and they have visitation with their kids, and they're going back to school, and they're going to AA, and yeah, the list goes on. So what we are doing is actually creating a false narrative to the consumers of these success stories. We're leading the general public, or our audiences at like annual general meetings or fundraising events, to believe that everybody is like this success story. Right? Everybody served by this organization is just like this person, couple, or family who are telling their story. And that's just not the case. Right? We are creating a false narrative for the audiences to say everybody starts from this really terrible place, and through the work of our organization, look how awesome their life is now. My experience and decades of doing this really successfully in helping programs and people move forward into housing from homelessness is that most people really struggle. And it's really hard. And housing doesn't always stick the first time. And sometimes when people move into housing, they are confronted with other life problems that they hadn't been dealing with. What's the purpose of doing the success story? Well, from many of the organizations that promote them, it is for fundraising or public or political support. When it's done for fundraising, when the organization says things like, help us help people like Johnny or Tammy or Jerome, what they're really saying is, this story, this tragedy, this trauma should pull at your heartstrings enough that you think it's worthy of your investment. So how can we do this differently? I would suggest that we would do better with open forums. And by open forums, I mean bring a diverse range of people who have experience with homelessness or your housing supports, and let them tell their story collectively or individual within a collective setting, right? More than one experience allows for more than one perspective, allows for people to see that change is a process, not an event, and that people are at different stages of the process. So that's one approach. Ensuring there are good trauma supports and other types of social supports for people who are triggered by telling their story could be really helpful. Providing peer supports so people figure out how they want to structure their narrative and tell their story and are empowered rather than exploited in telling their story is a really good idea. If you don't work in this field and you are doing research on a not-for-profit organization or a government program to support, let's say financially or through your kind of public acknowledgement of their greatness, be very cautious of any organization that tells you a specific story of a person and then appeals for money at the same time. That is just poverty pornography. And that's you trying to financially gain from the misery of others. Don't fall for the trap. Thanks for watching.